So starting as early as, say, week 9 is kind of when you need to start making decisions on whether or not you want to test your child for anything such as chromosomal abnormalities like Down syndrome and whatnot. Now there's a lot more options than when I had my first, so I had to do a lot of research. Now one thing that was new this time around was I learned about the NIPT test, which is a single blood draw, 99% effective, and can also tell you the gender of the baby. At first I was like, ooh, that sounds amazing. I only want to do one test and get it all done, and I love that it's 99% accurate. Now when I looked into it, there's different companies that offer the standard test, which is the top 3 chromosomal abnormalities. But there's one company which offers a test that will cover every single chromosomal abnormality there is. And that sounded really interesting. Now, I have to pay out of pocket from not being insured. And so I called the one company, which is the Maternit company. Most people know of the Maternit21. And then they have a test called the MaternitGenome, which covers everything. Now, they told me that my out-of-pocket cost would be around $500 for the Maternit21 and around $700 for the genome. It was really important for us to do tests, so we were deciding on which one to do, and we were leaning towards just like going for it and getting the whole shebang genome test done. Then I spoke with a representative for the California screening program. They offer different options between whether or not you want blood tests or the NT ultrasound test or a combination of everything, and we were interested in getting information on their biggest comprehensive package, which involves all of that. Now it's a lot of testing, but we ended up choosing this one, and I will give you the lowdown on why. So the cost of the program is $220, not including the ultrasound, so keep that in mind depending on your health insurance. For us, the one ultrasound will be covered or cost shared by Liberty, meaning we would just need to pay out of pocket the $220. Now, here's the cool thing. If we had just gone straight to the NIPT test, if anything came back positive and say we wanted to follow up with an amnio or CVS, then we would have to pay again out of pocket for that. Now, if you do the California screening, I was told that any follow-up test, if something comes back positive, is all included in that one-time fee. Same thing with if you have any missed draws of blood or tests, any redoing that they have to do of any test, all of that is included. So for us, me being under 35, I'd like to consider myself a pretty healthy person. It made sense for being low risk to do the California screening and kind of have all of that financial security around that for paying out of pocket. Now, on a side note, for those of you living in Los Angeles, I'm going to be getting my ultrasound done at USC because I called a few places and that seemed like a reasonable price for under $400 for the NT test. And so I will be filming a video on that whole experience for you. The California screening test is about 90% accurate, so it's a little bit less accurate than the NIPT blood draws, but it's still pretty good and pretty accurate when you combine all the different tests together. They said the test also covers other stuff like SLOS and different issues like spina bifida, whether or not your child's intestines are not in their body, and certain heart defects. So they find out more things than just the top 3 chromosomal abnormalities. So from all my research, I really feel like if money is not an issue and you really want to cover all your bases, maybe you're a higher risk, then you could do the MaternitGenome for $700, or if you have insurance, it might be different. But if it's an issue of you just want to get the top 3 common ones, I would just do the cheaper one with the California one, and that way, if you end up having to do amnio or any follow-up stuff, you're covered. Now, for those of you who are wanting to do these tests with the idea that abortion may or may not be an option, the California screening test, even though you find the results out later on, you are still within the window for California legally. I believe they told me it was 22 or 24 weeks that you could still legally release the cells for that. So everything fits within the window. Worst case scenario I see with my decision is that Liberty Shared decides to not help me out with covering the cost of my ultrasound like they said they would. That's going to leave me at the same cost, or almost $700, that I could have done the genome test. And then especially if everything comes back negative and I have nothing to worry about and I didn't need to get an amnio or any of that, then I'm definitely going to be wishing that I just did the genome. But you make the best decision you can and hope for the best. So hopefully that information helps, and best of luck in all your decision making. Bye.